I am doing a blog today, and I'm calling this one A Story for Standing Up for Oneself. Many years ago, I went to an extremely expensive personal growth workshop in New York State. I did not know what it was for. I was young. I think I was in my early 30s. I was on my journey for self-awareness that had started in my late teens and had moved through many personal growth workshops, yoga and meditation retreats, fire walks, and ropes courses. I had learned techniques related to connected breath therapies, healing modalities, and became a Kundalini yoga teacher. I was at the stage of my development internally and externally that I did not fear putting myself into odd or strange positions where I would have my patterns actively and sometimes aggressively confronted. I trusted my center and my core. I believed in myself and who I was. I recognized that fear was the doorway to enlightenment. So when some of my friends wanted to do this particular workshop, I was all in. I had no idea what we were in for, but as experienced workshop junkies, we knew it would be for our greater good. So off we went and rented a car to get to a very old-time boys' camp after the summer season was complete. It was September in the deep woods of New York State, and a beautiful time to be in such a place. Excited, we show up to the event, and the first thing was that the facilitators and assistants demanded our car keys. Workshops use control issues and do things that make one instantly begin to stress out. For me, I knew this ploy and did not fall for it. For some, them taking the keys to the cars violated their rules of having control. Clearly, that was exactly the intention. Then I started reading the waiver. I am a full-on waiver reader. I learn a lot about what is about to transpire by reading such things all the way through. This one was 4 pages long. That is very long in my book. In fact, it felt like a book. Clearly, this entire workshop was designed to push us up against our edges and make us confront all our issues around control. After signing the waiver, I turned to my friends and they were waiting for me. They clearly did not read it all the way through. I smiled and laughed, saying, I bet you $20 that we are going to end up butt naked in this workshop shortly. They looked at me shocked and astounded and said, What are you talking about? I smiled knowingly and said, You clearly did not read all the fine print. So we start the workshop and they begin by going over all the rules of the space. Having a tight container in a space where there is an agreement of the container is critical for promoting a space where others feel safe. There are many ways to grow. Most workshops promote that safety so that others can find a way to open with less trauma. But there is a second way that workshops are run, and that is about a style of in-your-face confrontation. This is the old Est style. The method is to break down the ego and not allow the person to go into any of their escape patterns or habits. Trapping them by taking their keys was the first clue. Making them sign their life away with a crazy waiver was the second. But even more was going to transpire, and it was going to happen immediately. We start the workshop, and halfway into the day, they put on music, and we are all dancing around. It is fun. But then the assistants start taking off their clothes. Some people are shocked, but I smile knowingly and gesture to my friends about what I had said earlier. They suddenly seem very uncomfortable, as does everyone in the room, except me. After my years of dancing, dealing with costume designers, quick change booths, and being in tights and leotards all day, what I am not is bashful. And at that time, I was also a professional massage therapist, and I dealt with naked bodies all day long. So bashful is not my norm. But for others, this was a real edge. The assistants start coming over, enticing others to take their clothes off as well. And a beautiful African-American woman comes up to me and says, Come on, honey, take the top off. So I do. My friends are saying, Suzanne, what are you doing? I smile and say, I warned you. You just wait. At least I am getting a warm-up. Sure enough, the next announcement is that the rest of the workshop it is in the nude, and everyone is going to have to take their clothes off, and then they will put on some music and allow us to get comfortable being in front of others in the nude. And they were true to their word. There's nothing like being confronted while being nude. It is a type of vulnerability that is unique. This was a new level of confrontation. From there, things on one level got wild because giving permission to be nude brought out the inner child in everyone. So it's like being a young kid playing in the sprinklers, nude with other kids. It was raucous and like someone had let the genie out of the bottle. On the other level, the facilitator seemed to have some secret permission to take things to a whole new level. He announced that this entire workshop was going to be about enrollment for other workshops. They called it a game. The game was to see which groups could make them the most money. Whoever made the most money through their point systems would win. But first we had to create groups. The facilitator picked group leaders, and I was the first one picked. He said, I am picking Suzanne because she is a harmonics master. I think to myself, what the hell is a harmonics master? But I think this workshop is going to be confrontational. Being in charge of a group is going to give me an advantage, so I am going to take it. That allowed me to pick my group, and so I asked the angels to light up those that would be perfect for my group, and sure enough, there were lights above the heads of different people. So I get my group, and then they tell us their points system. Getting people to put a down payment for the workshop had the highest points, but we could send flyers with a note and put them in envelopes and send it to others. That had less points, but it was something. I take my group to the lake and I tell them, I am not playing their enrollment game, but we have to look like we are going through the motions. For some reason, I just happened to bring my entire database with me with addresses and names. I did not know why I brought that list. Intuition clearly directed me to do it, but I said that we are going to send flyers and personal notes, put them in envelopes and send them off. However, the note is going to say, Suzanne is at this workshop and she wants you to know that you should never take this workshop. It is $10,000 and the game is a week of enrollment for their workshop. We sat there day after day doing that, making points. I was navigating the feelings arising from the group on how fucked up this was. There was a lot of processing going on in my group. People were really pissed and triggered. The real assistants came up, kept coming to me and saying that I was not doing it right and that I was not playing their game correctly because I was not forcing my group to try harder. But trust me, they were really pissed off in my group and wanted to leave and report this group to the Better Business Bureau. Shockingly, shockingly, out of all the groups, we were in second place. The first group had a millionaire in it that bought workshops for members in his group. There was no way to compete with that. Besides, I was ethically and morally capable of seeing that this workshop was in trouble financially, and this game was their way to try to save themselves from disaster. Finally, in frustration, the assistants and facilitator decided to confront me in front of the whole group. Of course, while I was naked. There were 80 people in the workshop and 12 assistants with the main facilitator. They started yelling at me and pounding me with crackerjack phrases that might work for others but would never work for me, saying things like, you always come in second. You don't have what it takes to get to the top. You are a failure in your life and you will never make it or succeed unless you do it our way. At that point, I just started laughing. At first, they don't know what to do. They're irritated and taken back because most people, that would make them compete and get aggressive and angry. But here I was laughing. I'm not just laughing, I'm guffawing. They finally, out of sheer frustration, say, why are you laughing? And that is with a smile on my face and total confidence in who I was and what I know myself to be without any desire to sell out in any way. I say, you are the ones that have no clue as to who I am and what I have done with my life. While your tactic would work for 99% of the people on this planet, I am not that 99%. I am a retired professional ballet dancer. I have done leading roles with stars of the ballet world. I have performed in Lincoln Center and Kennedy Center, as well as traveled internationally and performed around the world. Let me tell you something. I have never played small, and I am at the top of my field. None of you have a clue what it really takes to takes in the real world to get where I am standing. Why would I take advice from souls who are learning about power from their inner self? None of you are qualified to give me feedback in this regard. Now, I am not saying I am perfect. I am not saying I am enlightened. I am not saying that I am not working on karma. I am not saying I am not here to help you, but the level that you are playing is way below the level I play at. Once you have achieved half of what I have achieved, we can have a discussion. Other than that, you are now welcome to ask me what each of you need and what you need to understand as your next steps. You see, you do not understand something critically important. While breaking down people's boundaries and egos will help them open, you fail to see that in the process of doing that, you have also harmed them and injured them. Eventually, you will have to fix those things, and that is called karma. And the person will have to reclaim their boundaries in order to heal themselves from your override. You see, there are levels of awakening that your tactics are helpful, but they only work on really stuck and damaged people. Eventually, a soul evolves and wants to share and engage in inspired feedback, not be beat over the head with a stick. Needless to say, you could have heard a pin drop. No one knew what to say because there was nothing that they could say to that. I wish for each person to know themselves so fully that you cannot be swayed by the mass consciousness of another's dysfunction. I wish for each person to know how to stand up for oneself from a place of honor and respect for the path that they have walked. And I wish for others to recognize that it is not what we do that has value. It is in being fully who we are in the right moment for all to see and witness. That is how you become a beacon of light and hope that can inspire others to seek truth rather than knowledge.